Thing I want to do is do this plastic covering that kind of covers the connection between this guy and the base. So first of all, this needs to actually go in and connect to the base there. So I'm going to go back over to my side view because I can't just move it straight out because that might misalign it slightly, but actually it doesn't really that much. But I'm looking for this guy, which is a little bit thin, so let me just scale this up. You know what? This guy isn't perfectly centered either. I'm going to need to move that ever so slightly, just so that this is in the middle, which means if I move this, I'm going to undo, because if I move this, I have to move these guys here as well. So let me just move this all together. Remember, when I select that, I can use my middle mouse button now, and I can just, well, I should be, make sure you're on world. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to undo that. I'm on world. I should just be able to move this over just a bit. There we go. It's a little bit better. It's pretty close. There's a little bit off. We'll have to fix that. Alright, well, I'm going to fix this. So let me just go in and move these guys. Move this guy. Now I can see that this is a little bit off here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, and again, using that that tool, which is the soft mod, that's the B key. Now remember, you can access this through your toolkit, your modeling toolkit, or if you want to be more precise, you can also access it here by double clicking on either one of these three. So move, rotate, or scale. And it's the soft selection here. Now this gives us a lot more options compared to this guy. So, you know, I'm more inclined to use this over this, but we just want to make sure it's on surface. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale this up just enough that I can move this over without it getting all messed up. There we go, something like that. I think that looks pretty good. Alright, well, we'll figure that one out in a bit. Now, for some reason, when I was moving some stuff around, I messed this up a little bit here, but that's okay. I can just raise this up. Make sure this is still a line from the front and the back. Is it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there we go. So, raise that up. And whoopsie, I missed this guy here, so I'm going to have to raise that up too. Make sure that cap's still on there. I might revisit this cap, and I was looking at the images. I think this is too sharp. So I was looking here at this just right before I started recording, and I can see it does round ever so slightly, and I know because there's a bit of a reflection here, just on this bevel of this. Now if this was completely sharp, there wouldn't be a reflection of this on here the same way. And I can see here, you know, just by the silhouette, it's a little bit rounded. Not as rounded as the top, but it's still slightly rounded. So anyhow, we'll have to maybe readdress that slightly. But before I do that, let me just make sure this is moved towards the tube here on the inside. So here's the tube. So I'm just going to move it inwards. There we are. So it matches the angle. That's the beauty of only having the two rows, one here and one here, is that whatever I do to this one, this stays perfectly straight, right? So I don't have to worry about messing up my shapes. Cool. And I can see, you know, this is pretty close. Probably needs to be raised ever so slightly here. It's actually pretty darn close, but I'm going to do it again because I want to go through doing this but using the multi-cut tool, or sorry, just kidding, the quad draw tool. It's the tool we started off using in class the other day when we were drawing polygons for the first time, and it's a good one to get used to, and it'll give us a little bit more precision. Although, you know, looking at this is actually pretty precise, but it's just a little bit off on the sides, right? It's just a little bit too much. And getting this moved over is actually trickier than you think, because by doing this, we're going to mess up the rotation here a little bit. And it might get a little bit funky, right? So it won't be perfectly smooth. So what I'm going to do is, I guess this is the right dimensions. You know, if anything, it's actually just a little bit wide. Oh, you know what? Once I scale it down, I bet it is going to be pretty much perfect. But this is a bit... Oops. Okay, B turns on that soft mod. We talked about this one in class, so I won't go over it too much. And once I scale that down, I bet we're getting closer. But still not quite close enough. It's pretty close, though. You know what? I would probably just leave that, but I'm going to rebuild this just for everybody, because I only did it with the afternoon class, and this one's, you know, a little bit, probably one of the more challenging bits here. All right, I want to keep an eye on the time, because I want to do this in 10 minutes. 10 minutes or less. All right, so what we're going to do is start with a cylinder again. So I'm going to grab a cylinder, raise it up, scale it. So that is the right thickness. And I just want to make sure it's divisible by 5, because I'm going to be doing something similar where I'm just going to kind of cut things, but you know what? I don't even need this divisible by 5, because we're not even going to use the cylinder. We're going to be just using it to snap stuff to. Very similar to what we did at the beginning of class with the plane, because we're going to use quad draw. So let me just make sure this is the right scale. I feel like this isn't centered still, but that's, you know, it's open to interpretation. Let me hide this guy. And I just want to make sure there's enough polygons here, because it's not perfectly smooth, right? It's fairly faceted still. So I'm just going to go into the cylinders channel box. Remember, that's the top tab here, or Control A. And I want to increase the number of subdivisions. I'm just going to double that. So I'm going to go, instead of 20, I'm going to go 40, you know, and that's fine. So I'm going to make this live. So to make this live, again, you just click on the giant magnet. Now mine disappeared. Where's my status line? So if this ever happens to you, sometimes, you know, you might have the shelf disappear or the timeline disappear. So if this ever happens, all you need to do is go up here to, where do you go? Windows, UI elements, right here, UI elements. And then you'll have a list of stuff that you can turn on and off. So you can just check on the stuff that went missing. You can always make everything hide, don't forget, by using Control Spacebar. That kind of goes into professional mode, where you just have the interface and your menus. Okay, so I'm going to make this live. So big giant magnet. Now that that's live, I can use my quad draw tool. Now I'm just going to focus on the one side, unless I have symmetry. Let's see, do I have symmetry on? Let's see, symmetry. So again, that's W left mouse button, and we can just come up here and turn symmetry on. World X. All right, so I've made this live. Next thing I'm going to do is go into my quad draw, and I'm going to start working around the surface. So with quad draw, remember, we're putting points down. Now because I'm working in the x-axis and I've turned symmetry on, whenever a dot gets to the middle, it's going to turn from blue to yellow. That just means I'm right on the symmetrical axis. And it's actually going to do the other side for me as I start to work around the object. So we can do a couple things. I can keep following the arc here. And to see this smooth, we can always turn on smooth. And oh, okay, sorry, I'm just on with Google support. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to pause. Okay. Oh. So remember with quad draw, the way this works is that when you're putting your points down, you just have to hold down Shift, and it'll automatically draw a new quad, so a four-sided polygon between your new points and any existing edge that there is. You can also do this, which is cool. You can take the Tab key, and you can just take an edge and move it out, which is kind of interesting. Another thing that's cool with Quad Draw is you can take any point and move it around as well. Now, I've exited out of Quad Draw, so let me just go back in here. There we go. You can take any point and move it around. So I can just grab a face and move it. I can grab an edge and move it. Now, just be careful when you grab a face, because it's going to move like everything, which may or may not be good. You can also quadrillate along that, right? So if I wanted to make maybe equal size elements here, I could go around and I could, I can move things. Now, if you're trying to get a specific point and it's a bit tricky to do so, you are going to probably want to go back to low res, so 1 on the keyboard, because I find with the smooth on, it does get a little bit challenging to actually move your quad draw points around. Okay, now I want to keep things fairly light, so this is a straight line here. So the question is, well, do I really need to then have anything between here and here? And the answer is probably no, I probably don't. So what I'm going to do is create the pin, right? Because there's a little clip underneath that comes around. So this is where I'll probably need to do some custom, because it was actually grabbing the entire edge. Now you can control this, like how much of this edge does it grab? And you can do this by holding down the Tab key and the right mouse button, and that's going to bring up this marking menu. So right now it's set to loop, so it's going to grab the entire loop if I try to extrude that. Right now I just want to grab edge, and that'll just be a single edge if I hold down Tab. And let me see if I can get this a little bit straighter. Now we can always go back and use our regular tools as well. So I want this to be a bit of a crisper edge. So remember, when we put polygons closer together, it will just automatically create a nice crisp straight line for us. Before I do that though, I just want to straighten these lines up. So I'm going to go out of this tool, so Q, and I'm going to select these two edges here, and I'm just going to straighten them. Now I can straighten them just by using the scale, and I'm dragging the scale down towards middle, like right towards the middle, and you can't go any further. That's ensured that's perfectly straight. So for anything that's a straight line, like here for example, so remember I can select, well, I'm just going to select all three. There we go. I can just go in, I can straighten this, and I'll probably want to straighten the exact same one here as well. So let me just select these 4 edges and straighten this too, right? Because I have a magnet on, I can just move this around if I need to. So I don't need to be in Quad Draw tool for that, although I don't necessarily want it to go through this. So let me just move it this way just a bit. And that means I'm going to move this edge here, which is straight. I'm going to move that this way just a little bit. And I probably want to straighten this one out again, just so that it's perfectly straight. And same with this, because when I was moving those edges around, they kind of got a little bit messed up. Alright, so back over to Quad Draw. So to make this a nice solid edge, so I'm going to go to 3 just so you can see that this is all rounded and kind of mushed up here. I just need to add in some edges closer together. So I can do this one, and that's fine, because this is a cylinder. Even though these are close together, it's not going to create any weird creases. I can't do this though. I can't just go and do that, because that's going to add in a crease along this way. So remember, polygons close together will create sharp edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over here to this side, and again, if I go 1 on the keyboard, it'll be a lot easier to do, right? So I'm just creating these sharper edges here, and I know it needs to be just a little bit sharper here as well. So I'm going to do this. There we go. So that's going to give me a nice sharp edge. Now, you know, this actually should be, this should actually be a little bit wider. So this is where I'm going to probably want to go into Q And so if I select this face and shift double click on this face, it'll select everything in between. So I'm going to make this a little bit longer here. Now it's disappearing inside here, but that's okay. Because if I go to my quad draw tool, as soon as I insert a new edge, it'll just automatically pop that new edge to the outer surface. I think that's about right, but refer back to the images. And then we can just go around and just make sure that this is the right curvature and everything is perfect. So I just want a little bit of a gap there, but not much. It should be fairly snug. But it is a plastic thing that kind of the legs slide into, so there needs to be a little bit of a gap there. Okay, so I'm going to pause again just because Google's got back to me. All right, so I'm back again. So what we want to do then is, now that we got this curvature in here, this is actually fairly nice. I'm going to now create the rest of the section. So I'm going to do something similar to what we did in class, where I'm going to create just a section. I'm going to instance it around so I can match all of the edges. I'm going to combine it and then merge those edges into a seamless continuous piece, right? Why would I want to do this 5 times when I can just do it once and then revolve it, essentially? So let's just make sure so this is actually, looks like the top of the sphere here. So this actually needs to be a little bit thinner. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit like that. And again, what I can do is I can expand this up. Now to help me out, what I'm going to do is take the cylinder that I've been using as a magnet, so I'm going to demagnet it. And I'm going to scale it so it's the right dimensions, because right now it's a little bit higher than what it needs to be. So let me just go in and scale it properly. All right, so it's about the right dimensions. And I'm going to make it live again. Cool. Which means this is a little bit low as well. Now I want to move this. If I move it now, it's going to snap probably somewhere under here because this is live. So I'm going to have to make this unalive. So unalive it. I think that's the term. And I'm just going to raise that up. So now I can make this alive again. So once I've made this live again, I can just go back in here and activate my quad draw, and it gets back into this nice quad draw interface. All right. So what I want to do is I want to continue going around with this, and just got to be careful that this doesn't go over the edge, right? Because it's going to start going over that lip. So I will need to make sure this is nice and straight, but I'll straighten that out after with the scale tool like I did before. Right? So I can just keep working my way around. Right? And we're just adding in our quads. This is where it's going to get a little bit dense in through here. Sometimes you have to re-angle it just to get the right, just so that it quadrilates properly. And sometimes you have to get in closer too, which can be a little bit irritating. Also, I could just drag this down. It'll just automatically snap over here if you get close enough. There we go. Right. And I'm just going to go in and add in another division. And maybe one more. Okay, so you can see that it's not the straightest, but I am kind of getting to the edge of where the section would be. Now I want to pull this entire thing out. I want to go just a little bit further. So again, that's tab, right mouse button, extend, and this time I'm going to go with border, loop. I'm going to go with loop, not border. Border would be the entire outer edge, which I don't want, so loop. Loop ends whenever it's not looped anymore. So again, if I were to grab this, you can see it only grabs this one continuous edge here. So I'm just going to move this out just a little bit further. Right, and I can always add in one more line, but I'm not going to just yet, because now what I want to do is I want to grab this edge here. I want to start straightening these out. So again, I can straighten them out by just grabbing the scale. right? And if I double click on these interior ones, it'll just automatically grab the entire edge here, right? So I just want to grab this one here too, scale it so it's straight. And then these guys down here, I just need to scale these down to Y. So this one I have to be a bit more careful about. And same with this one. You see it didn't grab the border edge because the loop ends actually right here. So let me just move this in. There we go. And then this top edge here, I might as well straighten that up as well. Right, so now everything's straight. I could probably insert another loop here now, right? Because what it does is it fits it directly in between these. So let me see if I go, there we go. Fits them directly in between. So if this was still bent, then this would be a little bit bent, which is why I straightened it first before adding any more, because now this one ends up being perfectly straight as well. All right, so this is a little bit more than I need probably, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna take this guy and I'm gonna move it in a little bit more. So I can take this edge and I'll need to straighten this one again. So I'm straightening it in both this axis and this, obviously not this axis, right? Because I need it to be straight across. Okay, so I should have enough divisions to do what I need to do. So this piece is good. I think it's better than before actually because it's more snug. Right, and the clip looks a little bit more accurate. If you're not sure, I did take some photos underneath the object as well. Right, so in these extra images here. Right, so we can kind of see, you know, it's a fairly thin clip, and you know what? It's actually rounded now that I see that there. So I'm gonna, before I duplicate this around, I should round this out just slightly. So again, just want to go to my level 3. I'm going to take this edge and I'm just going to move it in. Now it actually doesn't even stick out this far. So if I want to remove edges, so that's just holding down Control Shift. And you get this yellow box, so anything that you click on will just remove, or if I hold down and drag over a bunch of things, it'll just automatically remove all that stuff. But I just want to actually just get rid of this guy, and this guy. So to make sure this is nice and rounded, I'm going to take this and just start moving this inwards just a little bit here. You know, this is a bit, you know, this is a little, I should have just grabbed all of this, but that's okay. Oh, and it's probably better to do, with the low res. Right, and you just want a best guesstimation for like how rounded that needs to be. And that should be pretty good, I think. All right, so that's not bad. Okay, so I need to revolve this a few times. So because I was using the quad draw tool, my pivot should actually be right in the middle of the object. So when I move this, it's going to stay perfectly aligned to the object, and I need 5 of these guys. So we did some math in class, so we need 5, so 5 goes into 360 72 times. So 72 degrees, so we need 4 more because we already have this guy. So I'm not going to just duplicate them though. What I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to start by saving because I haven't saved recently. And what I want to do is go into Edit, Duplicate Special, And we're going to use what's called an instance. Now, an instance is going to be making what looks like a copy, but it's not actually a copy. It's like a mirror. So they have different transformation nodes, but they share the same shape node. So whatever I do on one affects all of them. So what do I need here? So let me just reset the settings. So any of these menus can be reset by just going to Edit and then Reset Settings. Now, Maya being Maya, not every menu is exactly the same. Sometimes you'll see a big reset button. You would just click that. But in most cases, it's just right here. And I'm going to set that to instance. We've got to figure out what axis that is. That looks like the y-axis, right? If I click on this, the y handle is yellow. So 72. And I only need 4 more copies. So I'm going to click that and set that to 4 and apply. All right, so now I've got all of these going around. Now there's going to be some overlap happening. So what I want to do is go through and remove any part that's overlapping. And I can see there's just going to be a small overlap here. And these are going to be the vertices I'm going to want to probably merge. So I'm going to isolate this. So Control 1. So with this still selected, Control 1. Now let me see here. Should have, there we go, Control 1. All right, so there's this overlap happening. And I can smooth that, so 3. So I just got to figure out where that overlap is. So it looks like anything on this side of the line, I'm going to want to remove. And anything on the other side. Now, because I have symmetry on, I should only have to do this. So if I go into faces, I should only have to do this. Grab this side right here. Not everything. Not everything. And which, I don't even know which one I'm grabbing. All right, this side here. You know, I'm grabbing the original piece. So let me right click on that face. So as I was saying, so I'm going to grab this stuff right here. Now because I have symmetry on, it's going to grab both sides. So this is going to get a little confusing because remember, they all share the same shape node. So I just have to have confidence that, you know, I am only going to grab everything on this side of this line right here. This line right here. So I'm going to grab only this stuff. Now it's going to look like it's grabbing more than just that stuff, and that's okay. I'm going to hit the delete key, leap of faith. There we go. All right, so now I'm only left with this section and then this section right here where there's this overlap. So as I was saying though, you know, they all share the same shape node. So whatever I do to one, all of them are going to be affected at the same time. So to stop that, because I want to start merging this into really one shape now. So you just have to combine it. And that's using this guy, so the Unite button right here. Now it's one piece. I'm going to delete history on it, this middle mouse button. And now I can go through and merge those pieces. So I can go in and select 2. And to do this, shift right mouse button, go up to merge vertices, merge to center. Now just be careful when you're doing this, because you only want to merge the one side, because if you grab right through it, it'll merge any selection to center. So you just got to be careful what's getting merged here. And I don't know what happened there. That looks like a bit of an accident. So I'm going to grab that and merge that too. All right, so now we can go around the object. I've got symmetry on, so I don't know if it's, oh yeah, it's doing this side over here too. Symmetrical. Yeah, good stuff. So I don't have to do it for everything, just almost everything. So just make sure you're only grabbing the one side. You might need to turn wireframe on when you're doing this. Let me grab that guy too. Somehow that got separated. There we go. And this guy here. There we go. And this guy here. And this guy here. yours might not have that if you're doing it this way. Cool. It actually looks better than before. All right. And the cool thing too is that now, let me get rid of this cylinder. So I'm going to turn live mode off. Delete this guy. We don't need that anymore. So now it fits perfectly in there. So it looks better than the one I did in class. Very similar approach, except easier with the Quadra once you get used to using it. And this top should be perfectly circular, which means I can grab... Oh. Sorry. A spider fell on my hand. It's a problem of being in the basement. All right, so let me pause for 1 second. And I'm back. So now what I can do is I can start finishing up this piece right here. So I'm going to grab this edge. Oh, I missed a piece. Yeah, right here. I missed this guy. And I knew that because when I double click on this edge, it selects an entire border edge. If this was completely enclosed, this area would not have been selected on the bottom side. So yeah, so this guy needs to be merged to center as well. So remember, shift right mouse button and then merge to center. Now, why are you not merging to center? Let me just try this again. Vertex. Merge to center. Well, you know what? Probably because of my symmetry, so I'm going to have to turn that off for a second. There we go. You can also just grab the edge. Well, you know what? It's probably better not to. That is actually... There we go. We're good. So if I double click on this now, I should just be able to, there we go, that's what I want, just the top ring. And I can start going in and adding in this shape here. So I want to go back to my image for a second and see, well, this is really fuzzy. Do I have a better image? Okay, so you know what, this shape is actually not quite as I thought it'd be more like a honey, like a old-fashioned beehive image, but it's actually fairly rounded. And then this is kind of like a really gentle bevel here, right? So this is actually not quite accurate. So what I'm going to do is extrude. Talked about extrude in class. And I'm going to extrude this in just a tiny little bit, not much. And up. And extrude again. And I'm going to move this up. Remember, you can T brings that back your manipulator for the extrude, but WER will allow you to just go into move, rotate, and scale. And I'm just going to bring this up. And G will extrude again. And that's going to bring me up to this kind of gentle bevel I need to create here. And then in here, this is where it connects in with the tube. There we go. And let's see the image one more time here. Yeah, so it comes down and then, so it actually sweeps inwards a little bit. So let me go into my multi-cut tool. Remember, multi-cut allows us to insert edges. Okay, and I just want to make sure that I've got a good gentle bevel and this edge. Almost there. Now it actually doesn't have this edge right here. So I can do one of two things. I can go in and remove this edge. Now remember, if I just delete it, it's going to give me this wonky kind of curvy line, which I don't want. And the reason why is that it's leaving behind all of these vertices here. Right? So instead what I want to do is I want to, and I'm losing my voice. Oh no, 1 sec. What I want to do is I want to go Control Delete. And Control Delete will remove that entirely. But you know what? Do I want to fully remove that. I don't actually. I'm just going to scale this out just a bit. There we go. It's going to give me a bit of a more gentle transition. I think that's better. It's a little bit better. Cool. Right, I could raise this up just slightly. Maybe slightly inwards, just so it has a bit of a rounding. Good stuff. That's even better than before. All right, and then once I got that, I can do an extrude. So if I extrude this in, because remember, this is plastic. If I look at it, it's not paper thin like this. This is even thinner than paper thin, right? There's no thickness. So what I'm going to want to do is extrude this all inwards to give it actual thickness. So I'm going to use the extrude button, and I'm going to extrude it inward, so this way. So it just has the right amount of plastic thickness. And you're probably wondering, well, it's inverted. I've inverted the surface. I did. That's why it's pure black here. But before I worry about that, let me just add in a couple divisions so that it has a little bit more thick, so it's a little bit more beveled. And then what I can do is I can select it and then go to Mesh Display Reverse. Right, so now I've got a nice thick piece of plastic that the leg of the chair is inserted into, and that looks pretty good. That's pretty accurate. Okay, I'm going to end this video here. It's a bit longer, but we worked through some stuff, even though I kept getting interrupted by Google support, which did not help me at all, unfortunately. All right, cheers, bye.